Okay, so you open up the Bible, and right there at the start of the New Testament, you find something kind of puzzling. Four different books: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, all telling the life story of one person, Jesus. And that presents a bit of a mystery, one that's been sitting right there in plain sight for centuries.
I mean, why four? Why not just one clean official biography? A single chronological account that just says, here's exactly what happened, from start to finish. It's a really good question. And believe it or not, the answer reveals something absolutely incredible about who Jesus is. Here's the key to the whole thing. The Gospels aren't four competing news reports. They're four complementary artistic portraits. See, if you had four reporters covering a story, you'd try to figure out, okay, which one got it right? But if you have four artists painting the same person, you get to ask a much, much better question. What does each unique angle show me about the subject that I couldn't see otherwise?
To see how this plays out, let's start with the first three: Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Scholars call them the Synoptic Gospels. It's a fancy word from Greek that basically means to see together because, well, they share a lot of the same stories and follow a similar structure. They're like a band playing the same song but with different instruments leading.
Now, this is where it gets really cool. Look how each one has a specific focus. Matthew is writing for a Jewish audience, and he's painting a portrait of Jesus as the long-awaited king. Then you have Mark writing for a Roman crowd, showing Jesus as this powerful, decisive, suffering servant. And Luke, he's writing for the broader Greek-speaking world, and his portrait is of Jesus as the savior for everyone. Same person, but three very different lenses. Let's zoom in on Matthew. He's basically building a legal case. For his Jewish readers, every single detail matters. He's constantly, relentlessly connecting what Jesus does and says back to the ancient prophecies and their scriptures. He uses some version of this phrase, that it might be fulfilled, over and over again. It's like he's laying out Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, saying, see, look at the evidence. This is the one you've been waiting for. Mark, though, he's all about action. His likely Roman audience didn't really care about long genealogies. They wanted to know what this guy did. So Mark just drops you right into the middle of the story. His favorite word is immediately. He uses it over 40 times. It's fast, it's punchy, it's a portrait of a servant who is constantly on the move with power and purpose, heading straight for the cross. And this perfectly captures Luke's whole vibe. Now, Luke was a doctor, a meticulous historian, and get this, he was the only non-Jewish author in the New Testament. So his focus is radically inclusive. He wants to show that this good news isn't just for one group, it's for all people. He's the only one who tells us about the Good Samaritan or the prodigal son, stories that scream God's love for the outsider, the poor, and the forgotten. So you have Matthew, Mark, and Luke all singing together, and then you have John. John is playing a completely different song. He stands apart because he's not just trying to record what happened, he's writing to explain what it all means on a cosmic level. Just to give you an idea of how different John is, look at this. Over 90% of what's in his gospel is found nowhere else. He skips the birth story, he skips the temptation in the wilderness, he skips most of the parables. Why? Because he's laser focused on answering a much deeper question. Not just, what did Jesus do? But who is Jesus? And this is how he makes his argument. He doesn't call Jesus's miracles miracles. He calls them signs. He carefully selects just 7 of them. And as you can see, they build on each other. They escalate in power, from turning water into wine, all the way up to the 7th and most dramatic sign, raising a man from the dead. Each one is a clue, a signpost, pointing to a single, breathtaking reality about who Jesus is. Okay, so let's circle all the way back to our original puzzle. Why the 4 different accounts? With all these pieces on the table, I think we're finally ready to see the full picture. The answer is this simple but this profound. The 4 Gospels were never meant to compete with each other. They were always meant to complete each other. If you take any one of them away, you're left with an incomplete portrait of a person so vast, so multidimensional, that no single perspective could ever hope to capture him alone. Think of it like 4 essential pieces of one giant, stunning portrait. Matthew gives you the king who fulfills every promise. Mark shows you the servant who acts with power. Luke paints the compassionate savior who welcomes everyone. And John reveals the Son of God who makes the divine known. You absolutely need all 4 angles to even begin to grasp the whole picture. So, what does this all mean for you right now when you think about reading one of them? Which of these portraits is for you? Let's get really practical for a second. This is your roadmap.
If you're a person who really values evidence and wants to see how all the ancient promises connect, start with Matthew. If you want a short, fast-paced, straight-to-the-action story, dive into Mark. If you've ever felt like you're on the outside looking in, please read Luke. And if you're ready to wrestle with the deepest, most profound claims ever made about a human being, you're ready for John.
You know, the author John himself said that the entire world couldn't contain all the books that could be written about Jesus. And yet, we have these four portraits that, together, are more than enough to begin, more than enough to change everything. So the only real question left is, which one will you start with?